Well, we are back again for some more fun, some more Premier League analysis coming up. We're also going to be talking about the news. We're going to be talking about the good things that have happened today, yesterday, and the week of football. Just enjoying a nice latte to kickstart the day. Big coffee fan, and today we've got Dave the Rapper on the cup. So let's get this party started. Everybody, get into the chat. Which game are you looking forward to this weekend? There's a few bangers. City, of course, against Newcastle to kickstart the Premier League. We've also got the likes of Arsenal facing Bournemouth at 3 o'clock. We'll have a deep dive into that tactically and have a little chat about why Leandro Trossard is becoming a big player and getting the best out of Gabriel Martinelli. Their link-up on the left-hand side has been pretty sensational for me. Their understanding of the position and who goes in, who goes out, really, really good. But that's something that we will dive into a little bit later on. We'll also be looking at Manchester United's humongous game away at Liverpool. We're looking from both perspectives, from the Liverpool perspective and, of course, from the Manchester United perspective. Should Wout Weghorst start for United? Get into the chat. Ewan, I see ABB is being a chicken again in relation to news and activating his wild card. 30 points to catch up in the 606 qualifier for second. Ewan, you've got this. You have got this. I've made some big changes in my fantasy team this week as well, which has been pretty interesting. I've looked to, basically I'm going to go with a different strategy. I'm going to go free hit 29, wildcard 33, bench boost 34, triple captain 37. That's how my party is getting started. I have made 3 transfers this week. I've gone a little bit wild on fantasy football with the likes of Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney and Saka all coming into my team for Riyad Mahrez, Darwin Núñez and Eddie Nketiah. That is no longer number 9 for Arsenal. But welcome everyone to the stream today. Welcome to James as well. In the chat, he's saying Trossard links up better with Gabby. Shame as I like Nketiah. Yeah, I do like Eddie Nketiah, but I don't know if it's the right guy for them. I think he's a brilliant number 9, but is he a false 9? I think that's what Arsenal need. So we will chat about that. Welcome to Rude's Ghost in the chat as well. So let's start talking Premier League action. There's been some big news today. And that, of course, comes in the Liverpool camp. Firmino has informed Liverpool that he will not be re-signing and will be leaving in the summer. This is a massive end of era for Liverpool Football Club. Roberto Firmino has been one of the best destructive false 9s in the entirety of the world of football for, the last sort of 5 years. His peak was probably when Liverpool were running riot on the counter-attack in the Champions League, but he's been a great servant. And I think this is a good move for Liverpool as well. Liverpool have got into that really weird space of signing players over the age of 30 on big contracts. I don't think that was working. Firmino's form's obviously tailed off. He's been injured a lot over the last 2 seasons. His work rate's not at the same level. And quite frankly, with a player like Cody Gakpo, starting to make a name for himself in the Liverpool team, it's probably right for Roberto Firmino, to move on. And it's going to be quite exciting. I think Firmino could play for a number of top sides in European football. He is the perfect kind of false 9 player. Someone that Arsenal would do well in picking up. A little bit of a random transfer there. Of course, Arsenal have got their own things to deal with. But in terms of Firmino, one of the best players in the Champions League, around the sort of 19-20 season and the 18-19 season when Liverpool went on to it was absolutely sensational. Playing as a false 9 in the game against Porto, a goal, an assist, 3 shots, 2 dribbles completed, 1 chance created and won 3 out of his 4 tackles. And that is the big thing with Roberto Firmino as a kind of false 9. He is a bit of a hybrid between a false 9 and a pressing forward. But no, I think he's been a good servant, but it's a correct move for Liverpool. They need to have players in the team that can play week in, week out. And it is interesting because we are moving away from the front 3 that played against Porto. Obviously we've seen Mane move on to Bayern Munich. Salah is the only one that's still there, and I think that's the right call. I think if we were all to make that call at the start of the season, or last season, should we say, it would have been Salah that you'd keep, and you'd move on Mane, and you would move on Roberto Firmino in terms of the squad. Obviously, they have kind of moved that attack on, which I think is very much needed. We've got 2 left wingers in Diaz and Jota, and potentially Darwin Nunez. But Cody Gakpo is the guy that's kind of playing as the false 9 for Liverpool, and I think it's a position that really suits him. For me, Gakpo is either an inside left forward or a false 9, and I think he's starting to understand the role and so forth. Brendan in the chat, Firmino to Man United, who says no, unfortunately, no, we can't take Roberto Firmino and Liverpool players. It's just one of these situations. James in the chat, Eddie needs to be sold while his value is high. Next up, we've got Jesus and Balogun as backups. Trossard if he's needed. Yeah, I like the Trossard shout. I think Balogun, I'd potentially send him on one more loan move, James. He's developed so well, over in Reims with Will Still, but it could be one more move for him, one more kind of Premier League move to kind of get him up to that level, whereas you've got the, Trossard can play as the false 9, and that perfectly works quite well. Obviously, Balogun's blown up Ligue 1 this season, 15 goals and an assist in 24 games. He's been absolutely outstanding against Lorient. We spoke about this game many a time. Hat-trick, but top quality play. A whopping 11 shots on goal. The guy has got humongous potential. I reckon he'll be back, but maybe one more season on loan, I would say. Tabby in the chat, who's ABB? Alistair Bruce Ball. BBC commentator, one of my friends, I would say, but he is a bit of a snake from time to time. He does get very, very snaky with his hips. So that's the kind of news that's come out today, that's come out yesterday. Let's start talking about the action. Big games in the Premier League. To give you a bit of a update on the Premier League table, Arsenal sit top. Manchester City 5 points behind. United in third with 49 points. And Tottenham Hotspur with 45. Just into the top 4 of the Champions League spaces. Of course, Newcastle have 2 games in hand. If they win those, they will go above Tottenham with 47 points. And Liverpool could go up to 42. In terms of Tottenham, obviously, they took a very sort of surprise defeat in the FA Cup midweek. Nobody saw that coming. A pretty strong Tottenham team. Very disappointing for Spurs fans, but it could mean that they all, the focus now is just on the league and the Champions League. And I feel like in the run-in with Tottenham, they've got a good run-in. You're looking at very beatable teams after they get past sort of the bit of that kind of spell of playing Newcastle, playing Man United and playing Liverpool. They get past that, they could have a clean run at the top 4. It's going to be a great race for that. In terms of relegation, Southampton sit bottom of the Premier League. Bournemouth, Everton make up the bottom 3. Leeds just sitting out of that. And, of course, West Ham United in 16th. I don't think, Wolves or Leicester or Forest have got anything to fear this season. I think there are some worse teams in there. I'd say my favourites to go down at the moment, Southampton, Bournemouth and Leeds United. Get into the chat who you think is going to go down this season. Right. Let's drink a little coffee. What are you guys drinking at home? Bit of water? A tea? A beer? They don't discriminate. All the things good in this world. Manchester City face Newcastle in the early kickoff. This, of course, comes following Newcastle United's 2-0 defeat in the Carabao Cup final. The fans obviously were out in force, but Man United really killed the game. They escaped Newcastle's press, which of course is one of the the best things about Newcastle United is how they engage, how they squeeze you. Their front 3 very narrow. Their midfielders cover a lot of distance vertically. Their fullbacks commit to the press. And United simply gave Newcastle the ball, played over the press and looked to counter-attack them. They had 10 shots on target from their 14. Manchester United with only 39% of the possession. Newcastle, I think for me, have excelled this season when they've had kind of less of the ball in the bigger games. The 1-0 win against Chelsea, 49% possession, not dominating the ball. That's kind of their style. They are a little bit, like a, Liverpool circa 2018, that type of team, that type of style of football. So that's kind of how I view them and I see them. And how they could evolve and so forth. So it's one of these interesting propositions that giving the ball to Newcastle can cause them problems in certain matches, can cause them issues in certain games. Obviously for Manchester City, we've only seen them not have possession of the football in one game this season. That, of course, came against Arsenal in their 3-1 win in the Premier League, which was reasonably recent. But Guardiola, of course, said that was something that he doesn't want to do again In the league, he had 36% possession against Arsenal, scored 3 times, but I fully expect it to be kind of back to the Manchester City that fully dominate. The interesting side, though, the Bournemouth game, I think, was quite a telling game for Manchester City, where they dominated, vast periods of the game. Phil Foden was absolutely outstanding, created 7 chances against Bournemouth, scored, got an assist, was just so dynamic in the final third, kept the width well, stretched the opposition, which I don't think that a Mahrez and a Jack Grealish do. I think you should be playing Phil Foden and one of Grealish and Mahrez, because I think they offer a very similar dribbling style and ability. But City were just so poor in terms of conceding chances, especially after they made their changes. And this City squad needs some development. I think City are going for a massive transitional period. I think this is the biggest transitional period since Guardiola took over. He finished that season in 4th position in the Premier League with Manchester City. And of course, after that, league titles and so forth. But you look at the balance of the squad right now. Defensively, there is big questions in terms of the depth there. Of with Cancelo going to Bayern Munich, there is a few issues there. Walker coming in, Sergio Gomez coming in off the bench, but really looking open. And Bournemouth arguably could have scored a few goals. They're at an expected goals of, what was it, 1.32, which is reasonably big. And when you're looking at a team like Newcastle that will go punch for punch with you. We've seen that in a number of games this season. Even with 10 men against Liverpool, they created chances. They created a better quality of chance than Liverpool did, in the match. And Alan Saint-Maximin that day was absolutely outstanding. And he's someone that you could see could cause City some problems. If he plays wide left, we know that Rico Lewis moves into midfield. Saint-Maximin versus Akanji is a situation that I'd kind of favour Newcastle and favour what they're going to do. Jumping into the chat, James, Newcastle would have got a 0-0 a month ago. Now they're going to lose 2-0. James, what's your thoughts on why Newcastle have struggled lately? It has been a bad run of form without a win in 4, drawing with the likes of Bournemouth, West Ham, 2 teams that are down the bottom of the league, and obviously losing 2-0 to both Manchester United and Liverpool. Of course, the cup could come into there, the thought process that being that they're, thinking about playing at Wembley, they're thinking about the first trophy that they could win in years and years and years. There's added pressure there, but they do need to get back to kind of what they're doing. I think the other side of the Manchester United game, they didn't really have anything in the final third. They were quite dealt with in a sense. So Maximan had a spell, obviously the lovely flip-flop on Diogo Dalot, but as soon as, Dalot picked up that booking, Wan-Bissaka came on, it was a real different story. Wan-Bissaka won 7 out of his 7 tackles, and a lot of them coming on Alan Saint-Maximin. I thought Kieran Trippier was outstanding throughout, and it makes me think, look, if Man United bought Kieran Trippier, what position would they be? A leader, top quality footballer, great in the final third. He created some big moments for Newcastle, 4 chances created in the game, 11 crosses into the box. It's a situation where, he's going to be an outlet for them, for Newcastle in this City game. But I also think with City, I think the players are coming into form kind of at the right point of the season. The key guys, your Riyad Mahrez, goals and assists in the last, 3 games, impacting it in the right area, was absolutely outstanding against RB Leipzig in the Champions League, playing very much in that wide position. 5 chances created, 3 shots in that match. Him, along with Phil Foden, along with Jack Grealish, it feels like their attack is starting to flow. Obviously, Erling Haaland's gone through a pretty barren spell by his own standards in the Premier League. Only scored 2 goals in his last 7 games. Only 2 goals, following him absolutely destroying defences at the start of the season. But there is a concern in these bigger games for City is, when they retain possession, when they, look to get on the ball and create those chances, is having a advanced forward type striker the right thing? Haaland is a player that will play super high, and you get the best out of him when you go to him. You play direct to him. You're not, looking for his feet, which is different to a Bernardo Silva, a Phil Foden, a Kevin De Bruyne, that we've seen play those roles for City over their dominance, in the last sort of, 10 years under Guardiola, 5 years under Guardiola. So it's a different proposition. I've floated the idea of, Haaland playing in one of the wide positions, starting a wide position and moving inside, allowing him to be more of a, inside forward versus an advanced forward, which means they can play a false 9 in there. I think this is going to be a big game for them. because, the big thing we saw in Man United was with David De Gea going over the Newcastle press, it worked really well. City have arguably got one of the best big forwards in European football in Erling Haaland. But they've got that kind of weird style and sense that they don't utilise it. You take the game against Bournemouth, Haaland could have scored 3 goals in that match, or 3 more goals in the match. And that was all long balls. It was all balls up to him, balls into the channels. But City don't utilise that enough. I think they're going to need to do that against Newcastle. The other interesting side with City, obviously this season, we are seeing this kind of 3-2-4-1 structure in possession, with either Bernardo Silva coming in from left back or Rico Lewis coming in from right back, joining that midfield line, creating the box in midfield. But it's been less effective, I think, than we've seen in previous years for City. It seems like that kind of, the false nine that would massively overload the opponent's midfield isn't quite there. So they're still struggling for, a style that really works at the moment. I've quite liked Ilkay Gundogan's movement off the ball. I think he's given City quite a bit of vertical, aggression. I thought he played really well in the game against Arsenal, getting into those high areas, in the match, and something that gives City something else in that final third. But with the build-up structure, if Newcastle can press high with their 3, they can squeeze with their 2 central midfielders in Joe Linton and Joe Willock. It's a simple equation in the sense of they could press City out the back really well and, get into the final third. I think set pieces are going to be a big thing in this game. Newcastle have obviously conceded 15 goals in the Premier League this year, but 40% of those have been from set pieces. City have scored 9 goals from set pieces in the league, which is the joint 3rd best record in the league. So that's something to look out for, is set pieces getting into there. I think the pressing is going to be big in that midfield zone. Chance creation from both sides, of course. We've got the 2 best in the league, with Kevin De Bruyne and Kieran Trippier ranked in the top 2 of chance creation in the Premier League, with KDB on 73 and Trippier on 70. Both players have got the most passes into the penalty area as well. But the flip side of that is the efficiency of the finishing. Despite only creating 3 more chances than Trippier, KDB has 8 more assists. But of course, he is playing with a freak of nature up front. But his form is starting to kick back into KDB form. His goal against Bristol City was absolutely outstanding. And I think this was the form that we saw at the end of the season for KDB last season, when he started getting on the score sheet as much as creating for his teammates. Newcastle have the same issues as Arsenal. Small squad and the same first 11. Arsenal helped themselves with 2 decent January signings. I like that. But guys, there's some thoughts on this game between Newcastle and Manchester City. Get into the chat your score predictions right now. We are closing in on talking about Gabriel Martinelli, how he's returned to form, and Leandro Trossard being a brilliant signing in January that could go on to win Arsenal the league. So get your score predictions in for this first game, and the party will continue as it does. I'm just going to check if there's any news, anything going on in the world of football whilst we've been live. Nothing really. Just a nice little coffee break. But yeah, get your score predictions in for this game. For this match, I'm going to go with a Manchester City. I think I think it could be 3 or 4, Newcastle really need to step back up here. But I think City are in that run to the end of the season now, where I think they're really going to push Arsenal for that title. Right, let's move on. We're moving on. We move on quickly in this show, and now it is time to talk about Arsenal, one of my favourite teams in recent Premier League seasons. I love how Arsenal play. I love the football, and how they open teams up. Obviously, pardon me. I'm allergic to bad football, guys, and that's not what we're getting from Arsenal. But I think the January signings, as James said in the chat, simply sublime. I think the role that Trossard's come into play as this kind of false 9, but also switches positions with Martinelli has been sensational. I think, Jorginho being around in this key moment right now with Thomas Partey's injury has been pretty massive. The goal against Aston Villa outside the box, that was a humongous moment in Arsenal's season. And that's from a January signing. So I think Arsenal have got it absolutely spot on with the players that they brought in January. I think one of the big things with Leandro Trossard is it gives Arsenal the kind of false nine style. We mentioned before about Eddie Nketiah and Haaland. These forwards that like to run, in behind defences. They do their best work in the channels. They do the best work inside the penalty area. And I do think for top dominant possession-based teams, you need a forward that can receive to feet. And that either comes in a big target forward that can bring the ball down, that has that technical quality, like a Sebastian Haller, let's say. Or you need that kind of false nine player that's going to drop off and get into midfield. I think with Eddie Nketiah, of course, I think he's had the chances to make a name for himself at Arsenal, but he's missed quite a lot. He's got an expected goals of around 8 since the World Cup, and he's only scored 4 goals. But I think the most important thing is, from a tactical perspective, it's easier to play against Arsenal with Eddie Nketiah. There's less rotation, with the 3 kind of central players, the 2 central midfielders and the striker, but also there's less rotation with the wide forwards, and there's less rotation with kind of the rest of the team. And I feel like that is, nothing against Eddie Nketiah, but it's just not his style, and it's not his skill set. But when you compare that to Gabriel Jesus from the start, and now Leandro Trossard, we're starting to see the shapes that we saw at the start of the season again, with Arsenal being super fluid. And one of the shapes that we're going to have a look at from a tactical perspective very, very soon is actually the number 9 dropping deeper than the 2 central midfielders, and it being looking a little bit like a diamond at times, like a wide kind of 4-4-2 diamond, where actually the central midfielders are the 2 highest players on the pitch, and this gives the opposition so much problem. It's the classic thing, like if your 9 drops off, you've basically got 2 centre backs in these positions that they basically become redundant in the game. Because if they move out to deal with Trossard, you're going to get players spinning in behind or players taking up the striking position. Be it any of the forwards, again, the rotation. And that is a real issue, that you can get this kind of situation where your 2 players that are in the striking roles or the attacking roles in this system, they cause problems because they're playing in the channels. Nobody's taking up that kind of central 9 area for a centre-back just to pick him up. That player's off the line, and it's causing issues. It really is causing issues for the opposition, and it's something that Arsenal utilised really well midweek against Everton. And when you're looking at what Arsenal need to do, they really need a strong reaction following their recent results, where we've seen them stutter a little bit, but they also need to start to grow. And the Everton game, I think, was a perfect example of them growing back to what they were and learning. You take the surprise 1-0 defeat that Arsenal had against Everton. Again, it was Eddie Nketiah through the middle. From an average positions perspective, your number 9 is isolated. Looks quite isolated there. Looks quite like there's no fluidity. There's no players that are playing multiple roles within the team. You're looking at that average positions. Your number 9's your number 9. Your left winger's your left winger. Your centre mids are your centre mids. And look, it's decent and it works in some situations, but you compare that to this fluidity in the 4-0 win with, you basically, who is your number 9? You got Trossard and Martinelli basically taking turns at playing as the number 9 and the left winger. You've got so much more fluidity with Granit Xhaka as well. His position is a little bit wider than to the fluidity of the team. We can see that with Martinelli. His strongest part of his heat map is out wide, but he's got so many touches in and around the box at number 10 on the right wing. This just makes Arsenal difficult to play against. If you're playing a team that is attacking you and you're sitting deep and they're not changing positions, they're not interchanging, there's no fluidity there, you start to get issues. It's easier to defend against. The number 9 is going to be in the central position. The wide players are going to, be in the wide positions. And we saw the issues with the fluidity in that game against Everton, the away one, which was completely solved. And we look at Trossard's heat map again, active in the wide areas, active in the inside channels. It's very, very good from Arsenal. Very, very good. And it's this is the improvement that Leandro Trossard gives the team, but it means that Martinelli takes the number 9 position. at certain points in the game, and we are seeing a return to form for Gabriel Martinelli. And this is because this structure that we've seen Arsenal go back to is really starting to evolve. So let's take a look from a tactical side as well. We'll have a little deep dive into that. Let me see if I've got any more thoughts in the chat. I'll be at the Arsenal match tomorrow. We'll win 3-0. Nice day out in the looking at the side of Arsenal and how they've evolved. So we're going to take a look at some of the clips versus Everton in the Premier League. We can clearly see that the build-up structure that Arsenal are kind of using. Zinchenko inside with Jorginho. This has been, for the entire season. Basically, Zinchenko's playing as a bit of a playmaking fullback. He moves into the number 6 position and gets on the ball. Arsenal have been attacking with 5. We've got that with Martinelli wide. That is, of course, Granit Xhaka, Trossard and Odegaard. And versus Eddie Nketiah, this is like little bits in the movement which I think is so important. So already Martinelli's just received defeat off Zinchenko. We can already see the slight inversion from Trossard. If that was Eddie Nketiah, he's going to be more in a centre-forward position, in and around Tarkowski or running on the blind side of Conor Cody. But the inversion is so important from a ball-playing perspective, and this is why I believe that we're seeing the best out of Martinelli and we're seeing the best out of Trossard, because both players can play this role. So as the play goes forward, of course, Martinelli carries into the final third. And there the inversion is there. It's almost like a, upside-down triangle that they're creating with the 2 central midfielders ahead of Trossard. And we could see that the massive benefits of this is there's an instant ball option into his feet. If Martinelli wants to play a nice pass inside, he's found Trossard in between the lines, causing Everton problems. Obviously, he doesn't go, goes back to Zinchenko. Again, you can see the number 9 off the line looking to receive to feet. You can look at Tarkowski, confused. He genuinely looks confused in that position of where to go. There is no one for him to pick up. He'd probably look out that Odegaard's getting picked up by the fullback. Granit Xhaka's getting picked up by Conor Cody. And then the wide ball is on. So, in fact, Zinchenko goes wide from this position. I think he goes to Jorginho, then Jorginho goes wide. You're basically creating free space for Saka because the defence has to narrow to pick up Odegaard. Tarkowski's a spare man. And it's this type of thing that I feel like with these moments, you get the best out of players like Gabriel Martinelli and Trossard, where the fluidity is there and that ability to receive. So let's take a look at the first Arsenal goal. I thought it was a really good example of Arsenal being better and Martinelli playing a really key role in the number 9 position. 30 minutes after, 30 minutes into the game, we saw a lot of rotation. I think Trossard had about 5 to 10 minutes on the left wing. So you could see Trossard north of the picture. Zinchenko again taking on that kind of, deep-lying, playmaking, inverted fullback role in that central area with so much space around him. What I love about this goal is kind of how carrying the football and dribbling opens up a lot of space. So Zinchenko receives, obviously, ahead of, deep in midfield, out with the game ahead of him. Instantly pressure from not only Decore, but Onana and Neil Maupay. But the quality of Zinchenko, one of the big things that City have messed up this season is they've sold Zinchenko to Arsenal. That's going to go down as one of the stupidest decisions that City have ever made. Zinchenko is literally the perfect player for Arsenal. Perfect. If you wanted to build a left-back for Mikel Arteta, it is Zinchenko. And they've let him go. And we're seeing the quality of Zinchenko, his goal recently, the assist that we're going to have a look at right now. But his ability to carry through the pressure is simply sublime. He basically takes 3 players out of the game. Driving through, you've moved the midfield again. You've drawn that midfielder in top of the screen. Decore, he's staying high, which is going to open up the next pass into Martinelli's feet. But Zinchenko, not only has he taken out Maupay, taken out Decore, then takes out Andre Onana with a lovely cutback, opens up massive amount of space. Again, the situation we spoke about previously with the number 9 dropping off the line, the 2 central midfielders high. And obviously the wide players holding the width. This is kind of like a new structure for Arsenal. I don't think we saw this as much at the start of the season. I thought at the start of the season, it was a little bit more in the sense of we had Jesus more in this position. like it being more of like a 3 than a 1 and a 2. And that's kind of the difference that Arteta has brought. And that's the difference that we have when Martinelli, plays in that middle area as a centre forward, and Trossard plays there. We see it a lot more from those two. That, with Trossard wide in this move, that Martinelli is basically deeper than the midfield. Zinchenko's inside, Ben White's playing a support role. You've got that ability to play into the forward a lot easier. And it is a little bit more like a, kind of front four with a false 9 off. And it creates this goal, which I think is, something that's an absolute thing of beauty. And we're getting a lot better off. Guys, make sure you smash like. We're doing some top-level analysis here. This is Champions League level analysis. Let's be honest with ourselves. But let's flip back to that goal. So just keep that picture in your mind with that kind of, that player off the line and the rotation that's going to come is simply sublime. I'm a massive fan of what Arsenal do in this game, in this moment. So Zinchenko's obviously just dribbled 3 players, cuts inside. Martinelli now's in a position to receive. Big problems for Everton in the defensive sense. Does a centre-back jump out of position to close the play down? You're probably going to have to go. But again, we can see that structure, as I mentioned previously. The 2 wide players, the 2 central midfielders, and then the 9 in a deep position. I love Gabriel Martinelli in this position. I think he's deceptively strong. He's got a brilliant first touch, incredible on the dribble. And that dribbling and that carrying, again, opens up the space for this goal. So Martinelli receiving to feet. You're going to see him carry. The pressure's going to come in from the central midfield again. So not only have we already played through the lines once, the pressure's going to come back. And Martinelli's ability to carry and carry wide is going to see him ride 3 bits of pressure and simply open it up. The little layoff then creates this moment. So what we've seen with Arsenal with this passage of possession play is the centre-back being drawn out of position, both midfielders being beaten twice, which opens up a massive area for Idrissa Gana Gueye to cover. And that is crucial for the goal. We're going to see a lovely little, layoff, up back through methodology now for Arsenal. And what we'll see as well is the centre-backs don't know what space to deal with. And it opens up that little area for Saka to spin into. So Martinelli lays it off to Ben White. Ben White comes inside to Zinchenko. Look how perfect that is as a possession shape. It's the same thing again, but we've just changed positions. And this is what I think Eddie Nketiah doesn't give Arsenal, but Trossard does. And it gives Martinelli, Saka, more freedom to move between the lines. The structure now is that's Trossard wide. We've got Xhaka inside, Odegaard in that number 10 area, Saka as the right-sided forward, and Martinelli wide right. Like, we've seen a complete change in the structure. And this fluidity, we just didn't see that for a few weeks with it. Right now what we've got is outside the penalty area is this type of shape with the midfield support. It's very good. Very, very good. Tactically, very, very good. 3 passing options for Zinchenko. Could go into Odegaard's feet. Could go into Saka. Could go to Martinelli. I don't think we were seeing this enough in the first game against Everton in the 1-0 defeat. We didn't see these passing options in the final third. So this is a thing of beauty. I'll drink a little coffee and you guys can just enjoy this image. So again, we know where this goes. Into Saka's feet. We've got a massive problem for Everton. Tarkowski is looking to pick up the false 9, which at this moment is Odegaard. The fullback has got to be dealing with 2 players. Mikalenko's got Gabriel Martinelli on the outside. Saka on the inside channel. Doesn't know what to do. We've got that 1-off-2 in the striking position. Simple ball. But let's freeze it for a second. Bukayo Saka is one of the best players in the world. There is little things like this that he does naturally that is at a world-class level. We saw last week with Liverpool how Basatic deep in midfield turned the wrong way. He turned into traffic. He didn't use his body to protect the football. That was the goal that Liverpool scored against Newcastle. Obviously, fantastic, broke the press, but from a coaching perspective, was the wrong way. The way that Saka does this effortlessly, uses his body to block Mikalenko off, goes on the inside, uses his body to protect the ball. It's so simple. it's so good. You know, there's no way Mykolenko can sneak in and nick that ball. And then the finish is just world class as well. And Saka is playing at that level right now. He is playing at a world class level, I would say. And the way that he's taken on the mantle as Arsenal's, you know, creator in chief, but also goal scorer is fantastic. And just that little thing there, it's just quality. It's so good. First touch, so good. Second touch, so good. The finish, absolutely outstanding. You know, we see a lot of players go across the goalkeeper from this angle. Saka just goes high. It's just brilliant. It really is brilliant. And the whole goal of it being, you know, going from the methodology, from deep in the midfield, carrying through, drawing the pressure, drawing the two central midfielders, beating them again, looking for the ball in between the lines to the one off the two strikers, the shape that they create, carrying back across, the little interplay, opening up massive amounts of passing lanes in the final third with their fluidity. 2v1 on the left back. Brilliant first touch. Fantastic second touch. Great goal. That's one of my favourite goals of the season. Legit. One of my favourite goals of the season. It was sublime. Absolutely sublime. You know, that we see bangers all the time, but something that's well crafted like that is... It just is, you know, it's sensational. It's absolutely sensational. And we're looking at that kind of analysis and how Arsenal have kind of grown within the last few weeks. It's great news for the title race, guys. Gunnar in the chat, Saka at his age puts Aubameyang to shame. Do you think Martinelli will evolve to play down the middle? I think yes. But I don't think it's like a fixed position. I think it's Arsenal need to continue with the fluidity. That's where we've seen the best football from Arsenal this season, is when they've been super fluid. It's when, you know, like we've got this is the front five when they've just scored this goal. You know, that's where Arsenal are at their best. I feel when they have a fixed striker, and I think when teams have a fixed striker, it's a weakness. You know, it's easier to pick somebody up. But when you've got a number 9 that can play left wing, inside left, inside right, attacking midfield and wide right, it's fantastic. And Martinelli could be the guy. You know, long term, Martinelli really could be that false 9 for Arteta. He's got the quality. He's got the goals. You know, there isn't anything that I think he lacks in that position, but I do like him starting wide left as well. So I think it's a good thing. You're looking at the top scoring young players in European football, Saka and Martinelli. You know, Martinelli is obviously scored twice in this game, but Saka's got 10 goals in the Premier League this season. And then we look at Martinelli, his 2 goals obviously coming against Everton. That takes his total to 11 in the Premier League. And his return to form has been massive. You know, 4 goals in his last 3 games. This is because of a false 9 being played through the middle. The fluidity is a lot better in those games. And I think that's kind of where, you know, the last 2 games is probably the best examples of it, that we see Martinelli in more of an attacking position, more of a narrow position, or closer to the number 9, meaning that they're switching positions more frequently. You know, that against Leicester City I thought was very, very good, but, you know, one of his performances of the season against Everton. And I think that's something that Arsenal really need to build around and push forward. Bournemouth come to the Emirates in awful form. Bournemouth are my team favourites to get relegated. Obviously, Gary O'Neill had a good start to life at management, but they haven't been great for a while. Arsenal at home look very, very good. Trossard, false 9, Martinelli in there, Saka. I think it's going to be a very simple game. The one thing I did enjoy, you know, about what I have enjoyed about Bournemouth over the last few games, Hamad Traore's been brilliant. You know, he's a player that I really like. When Bournemouth get relegated, he's a player that someone needs to pick up. Got really good quality. Against Wolves in the Premier League, 2 shots, hit the woodwork, completed 4 out of his 5 dribbles in the game, created a chance. He's just a player that I kind of like. I thought he was good against City as well, being playing in a wide left position. 4 chances created in that match. He's a player that can play wide, can play 10, can play central midfield. He's an absolute star. I've seen enough of him at Sassuolo. There's a period last season when I was watching Sassuolo, every time he was the best player on the pitch. I really like him. I think he's a really good player. You know, he's someone I'd pick up at United. He's someone I'd pick up at Arsenal. Because, you know, if Bournemouth get relegated, there's going to be a release clause in there probably to pick him up. I think he's really good. He's someone that could cause Arsenal problems. Django Atara as well on his day. Left-footed right attacker. Really good dribbler. So there's just two players there that could cause a little bit of issues in the transitional moments they did against Manchester City. But I think Arsenal's defence and rest defence is a lot better than City's right now. You know, the structure is in a much better sense and position. Guys, any questions? Get in there. Is he a 10 or centre forward? Is that from... Who are we talking about there? Lee, get into the chat. Thanks for Joy's comments as well. Guys, we've only got 29 likes here, and there's 195 of us watching here. Come on, let's smash that like button. Let's get over a little 50 likes. Let's get crunching. Get the party started. But I do believe, look, it's going to be another game that Arsenal should go out and deal with. The threat from Bournemouth isn't great. There is players in there, as I mentioned, the dribblers. You know, Solanke could show up on any day. But it should be for Arsenal to kind of win this game and push through. This week, of course, Arsenal have been linked with Declan Rice again. We spoke quite a bit about where Declan Rice could fit into Arsenal. You know, in the summer, would be coming in either in that sort of number 6 role, or alternatively, we could see Declan Rice playing as that kind of box-to-box, high-to-low player. I think he's got the quality on the carry. He's got the quality on the ball. He's really growing as a footballer. You know, that improvement is something that we see. And one of the big things that we did a video on Declan Rice and how he's improved and how his game has evolved over, you know, the last 2 to 3 years. You did it on the Statman Dave YouTube channel. If you go and watch that, it's a really good bit of analysis. Not seen enough of as well. So definitely go and check that one out. It's just how good is Declan Rice is the video title. Definitely check it out if you're an Arsenal fan to understand that how he is and so forth. But what he's added to his games, and one thing that we said is goals. You know, you look at someone like a Leon Goretzka, and that would be the perfect player that if I was in and around Declan Rice, I'd be like, Leon Goretzka is someone that you could build your game on. He is fantastic in all facets of football. Attack, defence, possession, transition. And Declan Rice has the quality to do that. You know, Declan Rice has got real quality when striking the football. You know, he could become a box-to-box goal scorer. Given his freedom in recent seasons under David Moyes, who's seen that. You know, the goals are coming. Scored an absolute cracker against Forest. And it is, I think the performance against Forest is kind of, this is Declan Rice right now. A goal, 4 chances created, completed 98% of his passes. 1 out of 1 of his dribbles, 1 3 out of his 4 aerial duels. There's elite level numbers. You know, he could play high, could play low. He's a fantastic lot. I will absolutely snatch your hand off. Declan Rice at Old Trafford. I think he's brilliant. Brilliant lad, captain. He's got everything. He literally has everything. So, you know, could play high, could play low. The interesting side of that kind of West Ham game in the league, we actually saw him a little bit deeper. So he was playing the number 6 role, and Thomas Souček was getting higher. So again, you know, for Arsenal, could play low. And that's the kind of benefit of signing someone like Declan Rice. He could play that high role, could play the low role to absolute perfection. And it would give Arsenal a lot of like depth in an attacking sense. And that could be the lineup for Arsenal next season. We could see so Jesus in here, Martinelli wide. Be a very, very good team. A lot of teams are going to be looking at Rice for Arsenal. Will be absolutely perfect. Get into the chat, guys. What you think about that? Got some more comments coming in. James, I'd take Rice at Arsenal for 50 or 60 million, no more. How will Balogun fit into the Arsenal team when all of the forwards are available? From Clergy, simply him moving to that number 9 position. You know, what Balogun's shown in Ligue 1 is a real quality in goal scoring, a real quality in link play. He looks very, very good. Can finish off both feet, can take the ball on both feet. Looks like a very, very good player. And And I think that kind of duality in the penalty area of being able to go onto the right and then being able to go onto the left, but able to, wait for the ball to come in from the box and attack with his head, like, very complete. Very, very complete. And I'd say he's a little bit more ball-orientated than you'd say maybe an Eddie Nketiah, who likes to spin in behind. So, superb talent. I would probably give him one more year on loan, I'd say. We're closing in on 50 likes, guys. Let's get this party started. 47 likes. We need 3 more likes in the chat. Come on. Let's go. Click that smash that like button. Any more Arsenal questions, do get into the chat throughout it. But now I want your score predictions for the game in the Premier League. Of course, that is Arsenal versus Bournemouth. It is our 3 o'clock kickoff at the Emirates. So it's going to be a big, big game for Arsenal. Have a watch out for Hamad Junior Traore. Lovely, lovely player. Lovely, lovely player. Get your score predictions in, please, guys. Do that right now. I'm going to go with Arsenal 4, Bournemouth 0. And I'm going to hope that the boys can do it. I'm talking Gabriel. I'm talking Martinelli and Saka for my FPL team. Saka's just come in for a -4. So he needs to kind of turn up. We need him to turn up. Obviously, with FPL, we've got a load of weeks coming soon. So it's going to get really busy. Wayne in the chat. 3-0 to Arsenal. And we've got a question from Radu as well. Saka, FPL captain. I'm going to go with Haaland this week. I think this is a week to not captain Haaland, if that makes sense. I think Saka and Martinelli already are great options. So I wouldn't captain him. But look, if you want to play differential, I think he's a great shout. At home to Bournemouth. Bournemouth have got one of the worst defences in the league. Balogun to go on loan to a Premier League club. Yeah, Ren, that's what I would suggest. Premier League club. One of the, a team that's possession-based. I'd say someone like Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough, if they get promoted, would be a great option. And that's somewhere where you look to really grow. I think anyone like a Brighton would be amazing, but then again, I doubt they would take Balogun because they've got even Ferguson that's starting to really develop. Palace would be quite good as well. What do you think of Arsenal's box midfield? Absolutely outstanding. I absolutely love how they evolved. This is kind of they evolved with Zinchenko inside. I think it's one of these, formations that is super dominant right now, and Arsenal's box midfield is much better than City's box midfield right now. When we talk about box midfields, we're talking about the central players, and arguably there's been an evolution of Arsenal's box. It's not like that at the moment. Arsenal's box is slightly changed, where at times, as we've been speaking about in the analysis, it's arguably turned into a bit of a triangle with Partey, Zinchenko, and whoever's playing the false 9, with the 2 central midfielders high. So a little bit more kind of the box has got to play it inside now. So you're adding another ball-playing option to the box. And this is the evolution we're seeing in recent weeks. This analysis is exactly what you guys want. That's why you should smash like. That the box now has a free man. In Trossard or in Martinelli. And we saw that for the goal. And we saw the box being made up of, for the goal. We saw Saka in the striking position. Odegaard in the middle of the box. This is another evolution. First Arsenal's box with the 4 players. Team started to figure that out. They throw another guy in there. Started to dominate again. That's my interpretation of their box right now. And again, it's very positional based. It's not a fixed box. It moves up. It moves down. It looks like not hexagon at times. It looks like a parallelogram at certain times, a trapeze. It's very fluid. All to create that space. James in the chat, should Tierney leave Arsenal? Yeah, I think so. I think Tierney needs to play football. He's a brilliant footballer. I'd love to see him at Celtic again. Really would. Adam in the chat, they play more direct now, more vertical. I think that obviously comes with that player inside the box. Clergyman, is it me or Saka hasn't fully recovered? As good as performances his last game, still holding back a little bit on the runs and challenges. Yeah, I think he has to, though. You've got to manage himself. He's played a lot of minutes, hasn't he? Gamer in the chat's going to go 4-1 to Arsenal. You in with a 3-0 Arsenal. Enoch in the chat's going to go 5-1 to Arsenal. Great score predictions. What do you think about a pivot of Jorginho and Partey, maybe against the top 6 teams? I think that Zinchenko as a ball player is a real good level. And we saw in that goal that we analysed, his ability to carry is outstanding. So I would say that the Zinchenko with Jorginho or Partey is a better base. The thing that we also spoke about before about changes that Arteta could make before we're having this box with the player in the middle that seems like it's the evolution was actually moving the attacking line up a little bit. So the other idea we were talking about was Nketiah as that 9, Martinelli inside. So that's kind of, this is Arsenal's standard shape. What we were talking about was throwing in Jorginho, playing Jorginho deep, and then forcing Martinelli inside. So it's more of a Jorginho Partey box, which I like, but I think the fluidity with what Arsenal have with Zinchenko deep is a lot better because, yeah, look, he will spend a bit of time out wide. He will do. That's the fluidity. That's why it's so good with Martinelli inside or with Xhaka high or Xhaka low. But I think Zinchenko at the base of midfield is just, it's a massive player for Arsenal. I think now with Trossard in that position, that's the evolution. They've got the evolution there, which is good. Right, brilliant stuff, guys. Make sure you smash like 69 likes. Great work, guys. I reckon we could do 100. I reckon we could do 100 by the end of the stream. There is 234 of us here right now. Smash that like button. Let's continue flying. Any more questions on Arsenal, do get them into the chat. We'll answer them before the stream ends. It is now, though, time to talk about one of the biggest games in English football. Liverpool versus Man United. And it's been a while since I feel happy about this game. Look at this face. Look how happy I look. Yeah, it's been tough recently. Liverpool have been so dominant in this match. They've been so dominant in the Premier League and the Champions League. We've had season after season after season of just being battered. And the 5-0 was shocking. I was with my good friends at the pub watching this, and one of my good friends, Christopher Gibson, we go to away games together. We were in Barcelona together. He literally left the pub at 50 minutes. He's never done this before. Never. And look, fair play to him. He went home and he had a better life. This was embarrassing. An embarrassing game filled full of poor performance after poor performance. But Man United in that right now are a different beast. They are a different beast in the full flow. The performance against West Ham United, coming from 1-0 down to win 3-1, sums up the team, the attitude, and that brilliant little clip of Steve McLaren going up to Erik ten Hag after the game and saying, "You won this. You're the reason why we won this. Your standards, your ability to get that extra little level out of these players." United are in a great position. They really are. And I think with where they've come and where they've been, the performances recently, the Carabao Cup final performance against Newcastle United, just sublime. They basically killed Eddie Howe's side after 10 minutes. Done. Game over. Over the press. Game over. Casemiro wins the midfield battle. The performance against Barcelona, again, Ten Hag starting with Weghorst as a number 9. Didn't work out. Needed that vertical runs in behind the defence, moves Marcus Rashford to the 9, changes the game. United are flying at the moment. And even when United go a goal down at the moment, I expect United to win, which is weird to say because we haven't had that for about 10 years. And had that since Fergie, which is pretty incredible. But yeah, I think it's United are growing. They've really grown and they've really started to believe in themselves. And the depth of the squad is good. The mentality is superb. Marcus Rashford is in the form of his life. Alejandro Garnacho is coming in and putting in world-class performances. And it's a level where United have really starting to build a team and build an identity which they've not had for so long. let's take a look at United in terms of their squad. Not going to lie, I want a Liverpool W from Gamer. Look, we're all football fans here. We all want certain things. Ewan 4-0 United win the first half, rest of players in the second half. It's an interesting one. When you're looking at the structure the United have got and that fluidity, you know, the depth the United have got now is really good in attack, in defence. And I think the big question for, you know, Erik ten Hag in this game is, who does he start at 9? Who does he play through the middle? Wout Weghorst has been sublime. I love Wout Weghorst. He is probably my favourite player of this season. You know, I just... The work. Look, you run for the shirt. You run for the badge. Like we've seen Liverpool do years and years and years and years and years in a row under Jurgen Klopp. You've won me. You've won me over. And Wout Weghorst's ability to press and be aggressive has meant United are so much better defensively. Not only that, we've seen him play as a 10 with Bruno in the wide positions, which I think gives United great variation, with Bruno coming in as a kind of playmaker from that right-hand side. There's so much variation and improvement there. In terms of the player, I've got a question in the chat from Bez, in the chat. Who's the most underrated player at United? Well, I think Wout is up there. Weghorst is definitely up there for being underrated and putting in a really good shift. Casemiro is arguably underrated because he is that good. Fred has really started to grow. I think Martinez, Varane. There's so many players that I feel have been really good, you know, this season in the Premier League and Europa League and so forth. So there's so much that I want to talk about and praise from Manchester United, but it's kind of they've got to do a job, and that's the beauty of this. You know, that's the beauty of what we're seeing. You know, not partying after the Carabao Cup final. Got to play West Ham midweek. In terms of the selection, what I would go with in this match, I'd play Bruno at 10, Rashford as the 9, and I'd play Anthony wide right. What I believe United need in this game is aggression, is speed, is the ability to get in behind the Liverpool backline. And I think Weghorst has been brilliant, but I think this is a game for Rashford 9, Bruno 10. We'll have a look at some reasons why in a second. I think one of the big things that United need is they need players that are capable of playing the up-back through method all over the pitch. And yeah, Weghorst is a great target into feet, but I think the technical quality of, you know, an Anthony, a Jadon Sancho, a Bruno Fernandes, and a Marcus Rashford will beat the Liverpool press. Liverpool are super aggressive in how they press, but you can get them in a sense of playing up-back through. Up-back through, obviously, vertical pass, lay off, then you're playing through again. This is something that United could really do to upset the Liverpool press. The Liverpool press is nowhere near where it was. You can catch Henderson out these days. You can catch the DM out in their pressing moments. You can catch the fullbacks out in these types of plays. And that's something what United need to do in this match. So Liverpool, obviously, they are in a interesting position. Their form has started to improve somewhat. You know, on paper, they've had, 4 clean sheets in a row in the Premier League. But that's completely ignoring the 5-2 defeat to Real Madrid, where they were absolutely carved open, in that match. And that's something that United should take a lot of hope and momentum for. Benzema, Vinicius Jr. were just simply sublime. Vinicius caused Trent Alexander-Arnold so much problem. Like, so much problem on the left wing. And, you know, if Jadon Sancho is out there or Marcus Rashford has drifted into that position, then there'll be issues for Trent. There really will be. And I think playing Rashford as a 9 means that he'll attack that channel maybe a little bit more in the game. So, let me quickly just... white. That was the colour we're looking for. Just going to get Man United's away white kit. Get your thoughts in as well, guys. What do you think of what I've said so far? Do you agree with the team selection? Get into the chat. Make sure you smash that like button as well. We'll do a combined 11 in a second as well. Red Devils TV. Can talk about Napoli. We've got a video on Napoli. Yeah, we've got a video on Napoli on the main channel. I love Napoli right now. Very, very good. Jab, Garnacho is young, but his directness will exploit the space that Trent leaves behind him. Sancho is far more of a playmaker than a space-exploiting winger. I would keep Garnacho off the bench. I think from that perspective, I think Garnacho off the bench is a superb option. Is a really, really good option. So let's get the Liverpool team up that I believe will start. So we've got Henderson, Fabinho in that midfield area. What do we got from here? Fabinho. Basetic. Need to add him in. Could even be, going back to the old of playing Jimmy Milner. In there, let's flip that. Basetic, number 43. I think one of the frustrations for Manchester United is that Konate and Van Dijk are back, because that's obviously their best midfield line. Right, let's look at the chat again. Clergy, I think you should keep Rashford on the left. He kills Trent. That was a 9, would help battle physically with Van Dijk. You see, I think the other way around, where the pace in behind the defence is humongous. And there's moments where Liverpool really squeeze the game. But I think what United will do is play over the press, similar to they did to Newcastle. I think what we'll see from David De Gea is balls over the top of the Liverpool press. That's the pragmatism of Erik ten Hag shining through. So that midfield battle is going to be where the game is really won and lost. So, United going long, Liverpool squeezing up. I think why I believe United need the pace is so they've got threat on both wings and in behind the centre of the defence for balls where, the ball goes up to an Anthony lay off, and then with up back and then through with Bruno Fernandes. I think is a really good methodology. Liverpool love to press high. United need pace all across that forward line to get in behind them. Dangerous, because we've seen that with Liverpool this season is that they're less good in the press. They're less good in pressing moments than they have been in recent years. So you can play over it, but you can also play through it in these midfield angles. You can draw it in, you can ride the challenges, you can go. I do believe it will be Cody Gakpo, Darwin Nunez and Mohamed Salah as the front three. And that midfield of Basetic, Fabinho and Jordan Henderson. So let's move on to some analysis, guys. We're talking about bringing the press on. So we're talking about Liverpool squeezing high from from goal kicks, but United playing over that initial press. Key component, over the press again. That's what United need to do. But when they get to that moment of playing over the press, it is looking at the up back through method. So this is a clip from the home game, Man United versus Liverpool. David De Gea has just gone long to Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho has just cushioned the ball back into midfield to Scott McTominay. What we're seeing now is a backwards pass to draw the Liverpool press and then play through it. It's a key concept to Liverpool when you're playing Liverpool. They're going to be super aggressive. We can see James Milner in this moment is going to be super aggressive on Diogo Dalot and jump out. But you play that flat pass into the feet of the forward lays it off, and then you go through. And this is what happens in this move. 3 minutes into the game, United have gone over the press already, win that first ball, drop it into midfield. Then you have that methodology of Diogo Dalot into the feet of Sancho laying it off to Scott McTominay, and you've basically drawn in 4 of Liverpool players around the ball. You've drawn in the fullback, the left central midfielder, the striker, and the left winger. The space is massive in midfield. And again, you can see Harvey Elliott kind of, gearing to either press Christian Eriksen or go out and press the fullback. But it simply leaves massive amounts of space for Bruno Fernandes to drop off the line. It's exactly what United need to do. Up, back, through, draw the press in, and then play through. And the big thing, as I mentioned before, the height of Liverpool's line is big. What does that mean? Massive space for Marcus Rashford in behind the defence. This is something you don't want to see. If you're playing Man United, you do not want to see this picture. Ball's been played through, Rashford screaming in behind the defence. Doesn't go on and to put the ball in the back of the net. Actually, there's a really good block from Virgil van Dijk, but I think Rashford, in the form he's in right now, would score from this position. But going back to it, long ball over the press, draw them in with an up back through, passing move, then playing forward and direct in behind the defence. The space that you've got and how you can coax the Liverpool defenders out, and then you've got kind of a 2v2 on the back line, but also you've got Jadon Sancho spinning in here. The pace is big. It was Anthony Elanga, Rashford, and Jadon Sancho. What I want to see, of course, is slightly different to that, is Anthony, Marcus Rashford, and Jadon Sancho. So we're looking to create situations where Bruno has got 3 runners in behind the defence. So Anthony on the right, Rashford through the middle, Jadon Sancho on the left. And again, like Garnacho coming in and playing that left wing role works. But it's, can he start at Anfield? Because we saw him away at Leeds, struggled a little bit. So I would keep him on the bench, impact player. So that's the mid-block, how to get past Liverpool's mid-block, what used to be one of their biggest strengths. In the final third, it's the same methodology. Up, back through, little 1-2s on their back line, attacking Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's the same thing. Liverpool haven't evolved from this point of Trent being an issue. Rashford's going to roast Trent. Will Jesus slot in straight away once he returns? I think he'll be played into form. Ewan Gakpo's going to score, isn't he? Well, I do like Cody Gakpo. And he will have a little bit of beef because United were supposed to buy him. But let's take a look at the first goal, just in terms of methodology and how it's worked down from that method. The kind of the chat we've had before. So again, United in the final third. This move all comes from a counter attack. Rashford's pacing behind. United get to the final third, and then we see the first bit of composed play in the Erik Ten Hag era. This was the first goal that we scored that was real Ten Hag play. And it's that similar methodology. The flat pass into the feet of the forward, little layoff, and then working a little 1-2 round Trent. Again, Trent is very open to the dribble. Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, any of those players could get him 1v1. I think we all know that. But playing around him with the interior, also with another methodology for Manchester United, that could be Fred, that could be Bruno Fernandes. So what we see here is that flat pass from Martinez, breaking the lines, layoff from Elanga, a little 1-2 with Christian Eriksen. And we can already see how Liverpool's team gets super drawn over to the ball, which opens up space. There's starting to be a bit of a space between the two centre-backs. You got Gomez and we've got Virgil van Dijk. That space is pretty big. They got to close that, but they've also got to deal with players arriving late, and Jadon Sancho becomes the free man. So Anthony Elanga drops it inside, little 1-2, Christian Eriksen, he's in behind. But we can see now that there's 2 options there. Got the cut back to Jadon Sancho. The DM has been drawn over, and Jordan Henderson getting, sucked over to the ball, something that happens with Liverpool quite a bit. No one's defending that penalty spot. Jadon Sancho's free, but also Rashford's free on the back post. It goes to Jadon Sancho, the cut back, the brilliant bit of skill and composure in the box. Fantastic finish. And that's kind of what United need, is little 1-2s in the final third, up, back through, 1-2, composure in the finish. Catch Liverpool out. Liverpool are very, very aggressive, but they're not as effective with their aggression at the moment. Darwin Núñez is definitely a danger for Liverpool. Been directly involved in 3 goals in his last 4 games. Should have had a goal against Wolves as well. Was incorrectly ruled out for VAR from a pretty stupid decision. But he is a threat. He will attack the channels. He is that type of player that's very much a channel player. So he will get in the space in between, either Wan-Bissaka, Varane, or Diogo Dalot and Rafael Varane. It's attacking those types of spaces that he's very, very dangerous in. That's where he lingers. One of the big things we saw against Newcastle was Newcastle opening up a nice pocket of space from pulling the midfield over for Trent to basically sit and play a free pass over the top of the defence. That's something United need to really deal with. I think that is a big, big threat. So being super aggressive on Trent is going to be an important factor in the game. Being aggressive in that defensive position. And I think that's why Jadon Sancho might be a good option wide left. I think defensively he's got, a good ability in those pressing moments. Of course, Cody Gakpo into feet needs to be screened. I think, the link between Henderson, Trent And Salah's something that United need to deal with. But with Fred, Luke Shaw, Martinez, 3 really good defenders on that side. I am more worried about the Darwin Núñez ball than the Salah ball. But of course, Salah's got such a great record against United. We just can't ignore it in there. Question from a guarded viewer. Why do you think there is a reluctance from Klopp to replace Trent in that right position defensively? I'm not sure. If I'm Liverpool manager, I'd argue that playing Trent in midfield and playing Henderson deeper would be a better option right now. I think Henderson is better defensively. That's a change I would make. I think Trent in midfield, it has to happen. You're not getting the level of creation that you got previously at fullback right now. It's dropped off a little bit. So, moving his position and changing what he's doing is what Liverpool need to do. Trent in midfield is what needs to happen. It should have happened a long time ago from this season. It's taken too long. Trent is so devastating in the inside channels. At the moment, he's getting less touches in the inside left, inside right. Play him higher up. He is one of the most creative players we've seen in the Premier League. Ever. He's one of the most creative defenders. Play him higher up. Get Henderson in there or, a defender. Milner or, if Joe Gomez was fit, get him there. That makes a lot of sense. It's interesting that we haven't kind of seen that from Jurgen Klopp in there. Marcus Rashford have scored 6 goals against Liverpool. Leicester are the only team he scored more goals against. Rashford's got 25 goals so far this season, his best ever scoring season. He's currently on 14 in the Premier League. Needs only 3 more to match his best ever league season. If he scores 5 more in all comps, he'll become the first player to score 30 goals since Ron Van Persie for Man United. In 7 appearances in February, he's got 9 goals plus assists, more than any other player in Europe's top 5 leagues. He's someone that Liverpool are going to be a little scared of. I mentioned the threat of Darwin Núñez going the other way. He's someone that I think is a threat. Despite his sort of shaky start, Darwin Núñez has been a bit consistent in the last 3 appearances. 3 goals plus assists. He's got 17 goal involvements for Liverpool in all comps. Only Salah's got more with 28. Darwin Núñez is also on 0.61 goals per 90, which is the most of any player, which is very, very impressive. Jurgen Klopp is saying that he's going to be fit for the weekend, which is big. One of the sort of the changing things in the midfield battle and control, one of the things that we expect from Liverpool is the tackles and the ability to win the ball back through the likes of Fabinho, the likes of Thiago. But in fact, if you look at Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro and the tackle plus interception numbers, that's more than Liverpool's 2 highest players. Casemiro's got 78 tackles plus interceptions. Bruno Fernandes has got 69. Liverpool's 2 best is Thiago and Fabinho, 59 and 55 respectively. Interesting. Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro midfield on the double. Going to be interesting. But I do expect it to be this battle of this mid-block. I expect United to come out on top. I expect United to win every game at the moment. They will bypass the Liverpool press. They will play over it. And Rafael Varane is absolutely flying in these bigger games recently. Looks in such control right now. Get into the chat. Any more thoughts you guys have got? And also smash the like button. We're 7 away from 100 likes. We could do it, guys. We could do it. We can do it. But yeah, get your score predictions in right now for the game. Man United versus Liverpool. Big game in English football. Man United won 2-1 at home at Old Trafford. One of the best performances to kickstart the Erik ten Hag tenure. The era, shall we say. United wrapping up an impressive 1.79 expected goals from just 30% possession. United are counter-attacking FC. They've scored more goals on the counter-attack under Erik ten Hag than they ever managed under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The speed, the break. It's great football. Really good football. But yeah, score predictions, guys. Score predictions. Gengar in the chat. Have you seen Leao is linked? How will he fit in? I think 5-0 Arsenal tomorrow. Saka 2, Martinelli 1, Zinchenko 1, and Trossard 1. I'd like that. I think that you don't really need him, to be quite honest, at the moment. Would be an amazing player, though. Wide left, striker. I think, look, I love Martinelli. You know what I mean? I think Martinelli is brilliant. I wouldn't want to stop his development. I think Martinelli's got such a high ceiling with his quality in front of the goal and his finishing, his intensity, that I don't think that's the right player. I think, as I said before, Arsenal probably need to buy a 6 and 8 in the summer. Maybe a left-back in there. Guarded viewer, the strategy of playing over the press worked versus Leicester and Leeds. Yeah, it is the strategy right now. It really is. That's hence why we could potentially see Weghorst as a 10. The only thing with that is, I think Weghorst as a 10, he played the 90, didn't he, midweek against West Ham. Pretty sure, yeah, he played 90 minutes. So I'd expect him to come out. But if it was the case, it would be this system. Weghorst off Rashford. Weghorst potentially could be the out ball for the press. But he's not massively it's not one of his biggest strengths, in my opinion. I think his work rate, his finishing, and his movement is better than his ability to be a target man, hold-up play type player. So I think definitely I'd prefer Anthony just because of his defensive work rate as well, dealing with the likes of Robertson pushing forward. Has been very good in recent weeks. Score predictions, guys. Get them into the chat. I am going to go Manchester United 2-1 winners, I think. I think 2-1 United or 2-2 is what I'd go with. Get into the chat. I think Rashford goal. I think Salah goal. And I think Bruno Fernandes with the winner. Get into the chat your score predictions. You wonderful, wonderful people. Do let me know what you think. Can't wait. Good stream, guys. Great stream. Good time to be here. Good time to be alive. Lots of positive things coming very, very soon. Stay tuned. Looking at coffee. Very exciting. Bob is going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think that the Desmond. I'd take it. You offer me that now, I'd take it. Guarded viewer is going to go for 3-0 Manchester United. 98 likes, guys. We've got 2 more likes for the Hundy. Come on. 2 more likes. Let's go. Let's get the party started. Let's get it rocking. I am waiting. But yeah, if you're new around here, guys, make sure you subscribe. And of course, we'll be back on Monday for the Premier League review. Hopefully with 3 points of Man United in the bag. But you never know. You never know with this football malark. 100 likes, let's go! Well done, guys. Good work. Everyone give yourself a round of applause. If you are new to this channel, smash the subscribe button. We are live every single Friday at 12:30. Bob, question from Bob. Any player you think has written off too early after a big money move? Anthony is a prime example of this season. Sancho's probably still been written off, but we're seeing glimpses of the player that he was at Borussia Dortmund. And I think long term for Jadon Sancho, it very much is the number 10. That number 10 position. United could play Bruno right, Rashford left, the new number 9 through the middle. Obviously, we'll put Weghorst in as a holding player. But yeah, I think Jadon Sancho, number 10 season, is something I'd like to see. But yeah, big GGs, guys. Lovely stuff. We will be back very, very soon. Definitely get involved over the weekend as well. Check out all of our post statistics on TikTok across all that good stuff. And we'll be back very, 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 very soon. But for me, I'm going to go down and see my niece. It's going to be great.